Welcome to Strife Weekly, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are really excited to be here once again for another episode of Strife Weekly. With that said, I'm Breaky CPK, joined by the lovable Diva. How's it going, Diva?
I'm good. How are you, Breaky?
I'm doing terrific as always, man. I'm really excited to talk more Strife. Another week here. We definitely got plenty to talk about. With that said, we had a lot of fun last week. We're going to have a lot of fun this week and continuing on, of course, with Strife Weekly. With that said, later on in the show, some things to expect. We're actually going to be doing our Character Corner segment on Bo, the one and only Bo. I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe you guys have learned something from me after watching me all those months. We're going to be talking about on the Vault segment. We're actually going to be going over Stone Skin and going to be bringing up what the deal with that is. And of course, the interview segment and everything else. We definitely got a great show planned for you for later on. With that said, though, we want to kick things off, though, kind of give you another update here on how things are going with the beta stage currently.
So we're still in the early stages of beta. We've actually let in another wave of participants from our email signups. So we've been getting some new players and new blood, and they've been giving us some more feedback. So It's always good to see a new player's perspective on how the game feels, on how the tutorial feels, and how the progression feels. So this has been really important to us, and it kind of followed up on our last patch, which was a very significant patch that brought about a lot of changes, a lot of updates, a lot of bug fixes. So thank you guys once again, as always, for helping us test our game, for giving us feedback, whether you're in the beta or not. We've been actually getting a lot of excellent feedback from people who aren't even participants right now. So really appreciate it. You guys are really what's driving this forward. Yeah,
you know, obviously this is a very interesting time for any game development process. I mean, let alone Strife. Here we are, we're in the very early closed beta stages still. We are releasing more and more, as you pointed out. But so we're still creating the game to an extent. There's still features that we want to implement, such as matchmaking, the big one that we've been pushing, of course. But while that's all happening, there's still the balance side of the game that definitely has to take effect. And as you mentioned, we did have that patch recently. But what are the priorities right now when it comes to developing Strife currently in this stage, would you say?
The topmost priority is, like you mentioned, features, right? We want matchmaking, we want these other things that we've been talking about as we're messaging Strife, but we also want to make sure that the quality of life for existing players continues to improve. Yeah. Things like bug fixes, things like improving the balance of the game, things like adding new content, like the new item, the Giant's Visage, and we're working on heroes, we're working on new crafting effects, we're working on improving our item pool, maybe adding more items to the game. So we're definitely looking to make the game itself more robust, both from a gameplay content point of view and from a feature point of view.
Well, okay, so you're talking about new items. Again, the Giant's Visage, we'll get into that in just a moment right here. Really exactly what that is, what that brought to the table here with the game. But then new pets, new heroes, things like that. New heroes, obviously, that's a really attractive subject, I'm sure, for a lot of people out there. Right now, there's 14 heroes in Strife, I believe it is. There's definitely going to be more to come. I mean, that's for sure. Obviously, there's only going to be, I think it's, well, if you want to kind of explain that. So what is the idea with hero development in terms of how quickly, how many heroes should we expect to see in the near future? What's the deal?
With Strife, we want to treat our hero releases like they're, you know, everyone talks about game design as a mixture of art and science, right? And there's a good measure of art put into it, as you want to express a hero's flow, individual unique thing that they bring to the game, and a very unique way to interact with the game. Yeah. And for that to occur, you need a undeterminable amount of time, right? For it varies from hero to hero, and we really want to treat each hero that comes into Strife as a pretty good measurable work of art. And that sounds a little bit cheesy, but what that really means is that we're not going to be putting a timeline on our hero releases. Yeah. That being said, we recognize that 14 heroes is too few right now, and we're working hard on several heroes. Actually, we're iterating on several heroes, and we got some pretty cool ideas brewing. So stay tuned. We'll be releasing those when they're ready. But for the design team, that's one of our top priorities right now, is to release more heroes.
I can't wait for Lion Man to make his appearance.
That's not a thing, guys.
That's not a thing. That's not actually a thing. All right, so yeah, no, we're looking forward to obviously more, as you said. 14 right now, a good chunk, but definitely looking forward to more, as I'm sure the community, both whether if they're in beta or soon to come, for those that are not, of course. So let's talk about Giant's Visage. So we brought that up now a couple of times. Again, this is just to give an idea. So what we're implementations within the game, we're still going to be bringing new things into the game of Strife. Giant's Visage. Now this item is basically built around the idea: the more life you have, the more power you'll have as a result. Pretty good synergy right there for some heroes.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do with this Strife item system is to allow for as many options for each individual playstyle as possible. Now, we've talked on and on about how we want players to be able to play the playstyle they want to play. But we want to make it so that for each playstyle, you still have options. So it's not like, okay, I've decided to go attack, damage, DPS. Now there's only 4 items I can get, so I just go those 4 items. We want to make it so that each branching path has its own unique options and flair. So for our survivability builds, our tank builds, if you will, we found that there really wasn't a conversion method from defense to offense, and this presented several problems. This made it so that once you kind of pegged yourself into the ultra defensive build, you were going to have to rely on executing and using utility abilities like your stuns and your initiation tools to be able to be effective. You really didn't have very good ways to segue into a more damaging build. And this also hurt melee and tanky heroes' farm ability a little bit. So, as you know, the more damage you do, the faster you're probably going to farm. Being tanky against brawlers is only going to take you so far in terms of the rate of your gold income, right? So what Giant's Visage allows us to do is to provide a conversion method by which you can leverage your tank ability into damage output.
Yeah.
And this synergizes great with items like Inferno Brand or other items that maybe your Bastion wants to do some damage now, or maybe your Bow wants to do some damage. It can build on your previous survivability, which allowed you to initiate and survive in the early game, into a more offensive option. And this kind of goes in line with other things we have in the game, such as Dragon Shield and the Diadem. So the Diadem allows you to convert your mana pool into power, and the Dragon Shield actually allows you to convert your power into defensive options, as we talked about in the last segment. So what this is just another method by which, if you go all the way in one direction, it allows you kind of a pullback mechanism to which to round yourself out a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I obviously got the chance, and recently in the Strife Daily segment, I actually got the chance to play Bastion, and of course, that item had just come out, so it seemed like it's very good synergy with a hero like Bastion, and a good idea on him. So definitely had a lot of fun there when it came down to that item. So okay, so again, that's an idea of new things that are being brought into the game, you know, constantly being looked at and whatnot. So as far as balancing goes in general, obviously with heroes, with items, with pets, and everything else. Again, there were a good amount of changes actually this last, but I'm not going to go over them specifically necessarily. But where we're at right now with this game, again, it is still very limited closed beta. Would you say it's more difficult as a result of that to balance the game than if it was open to the masses, or is it easier, or is it kind of give and take? What's the deal?
There's pros and cons, I think. A lot of what we're trying to do with Strife and being deliberate in everything we do is to approach everything very scientifically. So we have a lot of data, and obviously the data could be even more robust if we had more players participating in the beta, and that's a con. So we're using a lot of data in balancing our game. That means we're looking at items, we're looking at heroes, we're looking at win percentage, we're looking at individual numbers as far as how often they're purchased, how often they're in an ending inventory, how often players are getting above this threshold of power, this attribute, and all those things are contributing to our decisions. And obviously, if we had more players in, our information would be more accurate, more robust, etc., etc. However, having a small player pool allows us to really get concentrated feedback. And while we want to be very scientific in our approach and use numbers and use math and all that kind of good stuff, it's really balance is largely perception driven, right? So what the player base thinks about things, how we developers think about things, is going to largely shape the direction and the emotional flow of what the game is. And for that, a small closed gate beta environment, and obviously as we grow our team and as we grow our interactions with our community, we'll be better at scaling up how often and how many people we interact with. But right now, we feel like we're getting a lot of great feedback from the limited pool of players we have.
All right, so with that said, and another thing we wanted to bring up here was actually the progression of the game. Obviously, there's a lot more to playing Strife than just playing Strife. As fun as that it definitely is, the progression side of the game, as far as the pets go, as far as the crafting, as far as the chests that you get after the game and whatnot, there's a whole level to that as well. You want to break that down for us?
Yeah, so with Strife, we wanted to create really interesting progression systems, and this is really the first time they're out in the wild, right? Out in a live environment where we have players playing them and giving us feedback, so naturally there's going to be a lot of things we need to tweak as far as the speed of progression, how rewarded players feel, and all that kind of stuff. So we got a lot of feedback since closed beta started in regards to the reward system, the chests at the end of the game, and a lot of that feedback was it's just not rewarding enough, right? So we want players to feel like their time is being valued. We want them to feel like they're progressing in the game and that they have the opportunity to partake in something exciting and fun. And what was happening with the reward chests is people were seeing really crappy chests like 1s and 2s.
I got a lot of those.
Yeah, and what happened was it created a sense of loss that really didn't underline what we're trying to achieve with Strife. So what we did in the recent patch is we made significant changes to both the variance and the probabilities of the chests that you get after the game, so that players in general are going to see better rewards. You're going to see less tantalizing results of like seeing a 10 out there and then they end up getting a 1 and they're like, that kind of sucks. We're going to be influencing this in the future with things like karma and things like that. So what we did was we increased the lower threshold. You won't be getting 1s and 2s anymore. The lowest you'll get is a 3. And that's to reflect that fact that really you won't be getting 1s and 2s unless you have poor karma that takes you down to that point.
Okay.
So we made a lot of changes on the reward systems. We've been getting some positive feedback from the people who, kind of urged us to change in the first place. So that's been kind of cool. And we also made some changes to the pet progression system. You progress a little bit faster with the pets, unlocking the pets a little bit faster. Some complaints there from our players. So definitely looking at your feedback, guys. Please keep posting on the forums. Please keep being active on our Reddit. We definitely have a lot of people constantly trolling those methods of communication. So give us your feedback and we'll definitely be listening.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely vouch for it. You could definitely feel the change taking place as far as the chess specifically. Before this recent patch was, I would dominate as always, but then you get a one chess and it kind of takes away from the game a little bit. But now I usually get, from 5 to 10, so it makes it feel a little bit better. So yeah, so what about you? I mean, have you been noticing the change as well?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. We added we worked on some cool effects as far as the sounds and some movements of the stuff. So it feels a little bit more lively. And we'll be looking to implement that kind of direction in the rest of the UI and the rest of the crafting and pet systems and whatnot. But for now, we're pretty excited with that recent change. We've been getting good feedback from it, and we'll just keep trucking forward with listening to you guys and what you guys want the game to be.
That we will. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, there you go, kind of wrapping up our news segment here as far as what's new and whatnot, kind of keep you guys updated. Definitely more show to come. With that said, we're going to be joined by the lead designer of Strife. We got James Fielding going to be sitting down with us. You do not want to miss that. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
James Fielding. I am the Executive Director of Design and Development here at S2 Games. And generally what that means is I help direct our design influence and philosophies and just how we approach making games fun.
Safe to say you're pretty much the big dog with Strife. I mean, you're pretty much, a lot of decisions come down to you.
Yeah, there was a core team of us, myself, Jason Grip, Mark DeForest, were really all involved in the inception of what Strife would be, what the ideas behind it are, but I'm definitely the guy to see it through and execute on those ideas and actually make them a reality. So.
Yeah. You talked about that. So the inception of Strife, I mean, again, you've obviously been here with Han and whatnot in the beginning, eventually you started working with Strife. So you've been from the beginning of Strife. What has that experience been like from the very beginning of Strife?
It's a lot of fun. It was the first opportunity I've really had in my career as a designer to have a pretty clear idea of what we want to achieve, start from the ground up, and just build this vision, and then reflect against that vision down the line and see how well we're doing on it. It kind of started with Heroes of New Earth. We took a look at what we wanted to do with it, how we wanted to improve it, and some of the changes were just too radical to really put onto an existing player base. So it's like, you know what? Let's start from scratch, see what we can do.
Yeah. So what did you learn from Heroes of New Earth that you're using to improve on in Strife?
I think the biggest thing we learned from Heroes of New Earth was honestly how big of a barrier the toxic community could be to other people coming into it. So a lot of the focus on Strife from the get-go was what pain points, what pressure points are causing this inter-team rage. There are tons of multiplayer games out there that have way less rage than your common MOBA. So step one was identifying what are those pain points, how can we relieve those pain points, and then kind of step two, and this always kind of gets underplayed, is how can we actually improve the base formula, make it more fun, more action-oriented, more enjoyable, because in operating Heroes of New Earth, we found players really resonated with action-oriented changes. They wanted to spend their time playing the game, involved with other players, competing. So Strife is all about playing up the competition and trying to remove the burn points.
There you go. The design process, because that's just one of many things that you do here with the Strife the game. Designing heroes, designing the map in the first place, designing pets and everything. What kind of a basic idea? What is it like going through that designing process for any of those things?
Well, a good starting point for anything you do is first you have to have a goal, right? And if you have a goal that sounds good conceptually, you're not going to land far off the mark. If you're very procedural, very intentional with what you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. You know, a lot of times you're going to start out with an idea, and I guarantee you will not end up in the same place as what you thought you would when you started. That's just iterative design. You're going to have an idea, you're going to try something, you're going to see what assumptions you made that were wrong, but as long as the base goals and idea were sound, you'll eventually get there. And the map is actually a really interesting point of discussion, because the map is probably the one thing that we had the least intentional direction from the outset. You know, we knew we wanted a certain set of features on it. We knew we wanted it to feel familiar to current mobile players, and add in some new features. But we experimented with a lot of different ideas over the lifetime of Strife. But we're pretty happy with what we settled on.
Yeah. Is there a hero or even a pet that maybe stands out to you that was actually almost like a frustrating experience with the design aspect, but you're happy with where it ended up?
I can think of several that got scrapped, but Carter is probably a good example of that. We had a base skill set for him. You know, he has the long-range skill shot rockets. He has a long-range skill shot slow, and he has that the fire skill that his projectiles that pass through it get ignited. And we're really happy with the base skill set, but we just weren't getting an ultimate that really fit his play style in a way that was unique and interesting, and left an interesting, what I like to call a footprint on the game. You know, a lot of these ultimates, you want players resonating with them to a point that after the game is done, they can think of the cool moments that happened around them. And the problem was every ultimate we put onto the hero changed the way the hero was played in a significant enough manner that he was losing a lot of his core identity. And Carter is one of those heroes that appeals to a certain niche of players, especially those who like skill shots. He's not going to be the most popular hero. He never will be. But we wanted to create an ultimate that had really fun play around it, as well as counterplay for the enemy, so it didn't just feel cheesy.
All right. Outside of the MOBA genre, really, I mean, more so even growing up, I mean, what kind of games were you invested in? Were you a gamer first off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was an RTS man through and through. I cut my teeth on competitive multiplayer RTS with Dark Reign 2 actually back in. Well, I guess it goes earlier than that, Age of Empires 2 and that kind of stuff in the 90s. A little bit of Command & Conquer, but Dark Reign 2, it's a little known game, has a player base of about 300 people, but it was a small, tight-knit community, and I just love RTS games.
Did you play Lemmings?
I have played Lemmings, yes.
All right, we have to find that out.
Yeah.
Is there a hero that stands out to you right now that you really do enjoy to play?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Moxie lately, actually. Just really like that ranged spellslinger style, but starting to wear me a little bit, so I'm switching out, playing a little more Ray and that kind of thing. It just depends if I want to be a little more supportive to my team or if I want to be the damage powerhouse. So.
Do you think you could beat me in a 1v1?
Probably blindfolded. No, I take that back.
I'm sure we have a blindfold around here somewhere.
Maybe not blindfolded, but yeah.
Okay. You're that confident?
Yeah.
You know I beat Tim last week.
Tim Shannon, right?
Yes.
Oh.
All right, I'm not going to, I mean, I haven't heard many good things about your play, to be honest, Philly. I mean, I've heard a lot of, on the negative side, so
yeah,
I'm hoping they're wrong, obviously, but
it's going to be really embarrassing when you lose then.
That's a good point. I ain't going to lose, though, so. Hey, walk on the grass over there.
Yeah?
Yeah, see what happens. I don't even need to look. I can just play like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you hit that. Makes you
How
feel
did
better.
that taste? Is that good? Is that good? Yeah.
Oh, you might not want to run into that. Oh, James, James. James, are you okay? Are you okay?
No.
No, don't turn around. Dang it. Oh, jeez. Stop it. Stop it. I don't like you. I don't like this. I don't like this. Oh, no. Oh, I think I underestimated that.
How did that bullet feel?
Yeah. Not too good.
I got another one for you when you come back.
Hello and welcome to another Character Corner. I'm your host, MilkFat, and joining me is the beautiful Diva. What's up, Diva?
Hello.
So, Character Corner, like we talked about last week, is basically where we're going to dive into a specific hero in the world of Strife and kind of talk about its place in the game and how you should play the character. And this week we're going to be talking about Bo. So Bo is a tanky initiation hero that has a lot of potential to really upset the other team. He's very well known for kind of being that make or break hero where you could be down in a game, but bam, you have a big Bo on your team that pulls off a clutch ultimate, you're right back in it. That's kind of how I view the hero. He's a very clutch, in the moment, initiation, make anything happen. He's a play setter, he's a ganker, he's a roamer. He can do it all. Bo, what are your thoughts, Diva?
Yeah, so for Bo, our goals with Strife, obviously with the heroes, are to make them as approachable as possible. We want to make them fun for a lot of different skill levels of players. Bo in particular, we had to make a few key decisions and ran some fine lines, both in terms of what his abilities actually do and how difficult it is to execute. So, as you said, if you have some clutch Bo plays, it can really turn the tide of a game. But at the same time, it's the kind of hero that achieves a minimum level of output even if you're not doing so well. So that's why we made his bow throw skill, his Q throw, which is relatively easy to use. We put a lot of the damage on the hero toward that ability. And that makes it so that even if you don't achieve much else, you mistime your W or you mistime your ultimate, you're still able to achieve some level of output. And that's why his totem, his third ability, his Tranquility Totem, allows him to help your team and heal your allies without having to, perform all these skillful maneuvers. That being said, this is a hero that we placed a lot of premiums on. And what I mean by that is he's able to displace in an AoE, which is not something we take very lightly in Strife. It's something that, like you said, can be very game-altering and somewhat upsetting for your opponents as they're getting bunched up and stunned and all that kind of stuff. So he definitely has a lot of mechanics that are make the game very fun, but also add to the complexity and the interaction with the game, which is both a positive and a negative.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bo can probably be considered one of the harder heroes to play in Strife. His Q is a skill shot where you shoot it out, it launches out, and then it comes back. It's called Bow Throw. His W is an ability where it charges up, and then after delay, it puts out an AoE stun around you. So once again, that is a spell that requires you to have great placement and timing rather than just a click on target. And then his ultimate ability requires you to line up opponents to shove them against a wall, which once again is an AoE timing placement type of spell. So he has 3 abilities that all require you to either use skill shots or some sort of placement or timing. So he is a very difficult character to use.
I am Bo, a traveler on a journey. My way is beset by anger and destruction, but like the creek down the mountain, I remained unmoved in my bearing. Mostly.
In his first ability, Bow Throw, Bo hurls his staff in a target direction, damaging and slowing enemies on the way out and back in. Using Inner Rage, Bo's second ability will cause Bo to increase his movement speed temporarily, and at the end of the speed buff, stun and damage nearby enemies. Bo's third ability, Tranquility Totem, allows Bo to place a destructible totem on the ground that provides increased hit point regeneration to all allies near it. Bull Rush, Bo's ultimate, sends Bo charging in target direction, damaging and taking any enemy hero he hits along for the ride. Bull Rush deals bonus damage and stuns if Bo runs his passengers into a wall or obstacle. When playing Bo, try to emerge from hiding with some of your Inner Rage charge already depleted. This way, the enemy won't be able to time any escapes they may have before they are stunned. Bull Rush doesn't stop your Inner Rage countdown, so if you activate Inner Rage, then Bull Rush, you can effectively chain your disables together.
No snowflake ever falls in the wrong place.
In terms of actual playstyle, so I've seen Bo being played a couple different ways. Do you prefer to solo the hero or to lane the hero?
I prefer to lane the hero because he brings so much to a laning duo. He's able to harass with his bow throw. He's able to set up initiations with both the bow throw and the bull rush. So he's definitely a hero that I prefer to be an enabler for other heroes.
Right. Okay, so you say, you like to lane him. Let's talk about what his lane partners are. So I've been playing a lot of Bo lately with Ace Jr. Kind of the successes that we've had: Bo and Ray, Bo and Caprice, and Bo and Malady. It seems to be that I like to lane my Bo with a character that is ranged and has either a stun or a slow that lets me line up my W's very easily.
Yeah, any hero that's ranged because it helps you to farm, right? So having 2 melee heroes, it's viable in Strife and maybe more viable than in other MOBAs, but it's still going to put you at more danger every time you go for those last hits. So having a ranged partner is ideal. And then anyone who has follow-up. So you can have CC follow-up like you're describing with crowd control, or you can have just a Carter who just puts out oodles and oodles of damage so that you're able to harass with him. He's throwing out those rockets and you're throwing out your bow throw. And then when you find the right time to get on that stun, the cutter is just pelting out damage, so you guys can blow someone up before they even recover.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about how we're going to build the character in terms of skills. So I prefer to get bow throw first, his Q. And then depending on the lane, I'll either get W if I want to be a little bit more aggressive, or if I'm playing against, say, 2 ranged heroes, I'll usually get my Tranquility Totem second to kind of give me that early regen because the mana cost on it isn't that bad.
Right.
And then obviously max the Q, max the W, and then get your ultimate when needed.
Yeah, I think it's the players are heavily encouraged to at least drop a point into their E skill, their utility healing totem, by level 4 probably, because the mana cost is relatively low, and the output for level 1 in the skill, because it is percentage based, we're able to scale it in such a manner that level 1 of it gives pretty good output compared to level 4. So dropping a point early in it is going to give you a level of sustainability in the lane that perhaps you're getting harassed, or perhaps you guys want to top off so that you guys are able to more aggressively initiate like Bo wants to do. Drop a point in the Tranquility Totem by level 4.
Yeah, and more importantly, especially if you're going to be in a lane with another partner, that means you're either going to be in the top lane or the middle lane. Having that Tranquility for an easy Baldir fight is usually pretty important, because having all 5 of your characters being able to heal up, and it helps with the tanking, it helps with the overall AoE damage that Baldir puts out. So if you're in one of those lanes, it's always important to get that totem just to even help with the Baldir fights. So recommended items, let's talk about those. So there's one item that stands to me that every single time I play Bo that I have to get, and it's no matter what, Spring Boots. You just have to. Unless, of course, you get Bounder as your pet, but even that cooldown is going to be a little bit too long. What Spring Boots does is it lets you to set up, one, your W. So if you're able to charge yourself up and get really crazy mad, and you start running through somebody, having that been able to jump towards somebody and close that gap is so important for Bo. Also, being able to use your Spring Boots to set up your ultimate is also incredibly important. So Spring Boots, #1 most important item. Agree?
I would agree with that, and not only because of how effective it is, but it's just more fun. So with Bo, what's really awesome about the design of Bo and what we're really proud of is that he's a hero that has a high level of flow and creativity in play. And what we mean by that is you don't have to always go through the sequence of Q, W, ult, right? You can use whatever skill in whatever order you want, and they all flow together and they mesh together in a way that's not forced synergy. So you don't have to do this followed by this. It's rather, you can use your Q to slow them, and then use your W to stun them because you are able to slow them.
Right.
Or you can use your ultimate to close the gap on them and stun them against the wall, and that allows you to build up your W. What the Spring Boots allows you to do is branch out even further. You can use the Spring Boots, activate your W, and your stun's charging up, it's festering, it's going to go off in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
You can actually use the Spring Boots to line up your ultimate. So you can spring in a position and be able to bunch up 3 people with your ultimate, and that makes it so that they then get bunched up. Hopefully you hit them against the wall, and your W goes off at the perfect time, and you stun all of them too.
Yeah.
So the Spring Boots just opens up more options. Like you said, you can just use it with the W to initiate, you can use it to land a clutch bow throw to get someone who's running away, but it just opens up the flow of the hero even more than what it already is. So it's just a fun and effective boost choice for Bo.
Yeah, definitely. So you got Spring Boots, but Spring Boots won't be your first item that you're going to go for. First items, I kind of look at 2 different ones. One, me personally, Reaper Scythe. I love Reaper Scythe. It's my favorite item in the game. I always get it. When I play Bo, I like to substitute both of the components in Reaper Scythe for mana regeneration. And I believe that you said you prefer like an Elder Stone for a first item.
Yeah, I prefer Elder Stone for Bo because you do end up having some mana problems. In Strife, you generally are more mana constrained rather than regeneration constrained. So with an Elder Stone, it allows you to grow your health and mana pools, both extremely important in Bo. And I actually like to craft that as well with some mana regeneration to allow you to throw those bow throws out in lane. They really help with harassment.
And getting last hits too if you're in a pressure
Absolutely.
against 2 ranged or something like that. Okay, so we got those as a kind of starting items. What about more late game? So there's obviously Inferno Brand for a character like Bo, who is an initiation, really is strong right next to the person. Obviously Inferno Brand is really strong. But what about, say, if you want to go for more of a tanky route? What items would you pick up?
I really value items like Guardian Helm and Ice Forge Plate because what they allow you to do is tank a little bit harder because Bo's a hero that's always going to be in the mix of it, right? So getting that extra armor, that survivability, that our melee heroes have more health than our range heroes. So when you buy armor and magic armor on our melee heroes, it's going to have more base health to multiply off of. So if you're able to get that magic armor and those big armor items, definitely aim to do so on Bo.
You're so nerdy. Sorry. All right, cool. What about more of like a DPS build? If you're trying to do, okay, yeah, you want a tank, you've picked up, say, your dampening cloak, so you have at least a little bit of survivability. What if you just want to start going ham and start throwing out some massive damage?
So one option is the Inferno brand that you brought up. It's more sustained. It allows you to perform your combo and then do get sustained damage afterwards. And if you have enough power, that Inferno brand is just going to be doing devastation, right? But if you want to just be all front loaded, which is something I like to do on bow, aim for about 200, 250 power, and that will take you a while to build up. But if you have something like a Reaper Scythe and you start adding some power items on top of that, like a Grimoire or an Everwinter Charm, you're able to then have just the most devastating combo. So if you're able to land that perfect ultimate into the stun, into the bow throw, the other team's going to find themselves pretty dead.
Pretty dead. All right, so Bo, we both played him a lot. What are your favorite memories with Bo?
My favorite memories are probably those of, sometimes we play with our friends and against our friends.
Yeah.
And if a friend's on this ranged hero that's constantly just doing great, like I've played against Muffins and he's had like 18 kills in a game and he's just devastating an entire team, and you just know you're going to be able to focus him. And it feels good to just be able to have everything in your wheelhouse. You'll be able to reach him.
Yeah.
And it's just so satisfying when you are able to get him along with 2 of his teammates in the stun, in all this damage, and I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Kill Muffins.
So my favorite moment actually is something that happened out of the game. So, one of my coworkers and one of my closest friends, Ace Jr., loves Bo. Plays Bo all the time. Just self-proclaimed best Bo in the world. Just really loves this character. And I had never played him before. I like playing ranged DPS characters. And so when I knew that we were going to be doing this segment, I was starting to play a lot of Bo because I really wanted to kind of get a feel for the hero. So after I played my first game of Bo, I think I went like 19 kills, 12 assists, and 3 deaths. And Ace Jr. was in the game with me. And I remember going home and kind of we were just sitting around the dinner table and just talking about Strife. And he was just like, so, well, what'd you think about Bo? Like, he's so cool, huh? He's so hard. And I remember just looking him in the eyes and being like, man, no wonder you like Bo. Like, he's really easy to own with, huh? He's like super easy, isn't he? And he just got so mad, like Ace Jr. Oh no, I'm just really good. He's so he gets all flustered and fed up. But it was fun. But overall, he is just the biggest badass in Strife. He is just you have so many opportunities and so many things that you can do with him. I mean, and he is hard.
Look at that image, right? Look at how hard he is.
Yeah, he's hard.
He's got that stick. He's got those horns. Hook him. Hold on. Hook him. There we go. Yeah.
Anyways, Ace, Bo is incredibly hard. Guys watching, Bo is a very difficult hero to master, but when you do, he is probably one of the most satisfying heroes in the game that you can play.
You can hit some extreme highs.
Extreme highs. All right, guys, so that is the end of our character corner. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you can enjoy a couple games of Bo. Have a good one. Hey guys, and welcome to The Vault. So in The Vault, we're going to take a new item every single week, break it down, and talk about when and where to buy this item, which heroes to get it on, and where it fits into the game. This week we're going to be talking about Stone Skin. Stone Skin is a defensive item that when you activate it, removes all CC effects on you, and then reduces incoming damage by 25%, and provides an additional 50% CC reduction for 6 seconds. So, in order to build this item, you got to get the mid-tier power item and the mid-tier health item. The first thing that we're going to talk about, Diva, what are your thoughts on this item? As a developer, why was this item created and where does it fit into the game?
The Stone Skin fills a very, very important role for us. It allows a sustained damage dealer like a Vermilion, a Rook of Moxie, someone who wants to stay in the fight and continue to be effective over a long period of time, the latitude to do so. So you talk about burst effectiveness, you don't really care about going in, you basically go in and over a window of 1 or 2 seconds, put out the majority of your effectiveness. Right. But for sustained heroes, we don't want them to be constantly locked down. We want to give them some avenue to do so. And in Heroes of New Earth, you have a Shrunken Head, right? That gives you a magic immunity, allows you to avoid crowd control for the most part, and gives you that time to basically pew-pew with your lasers.
Right.
And in Strife, what we want to do is we want to create an item that fills that niche without being so uninteractive. Basically, oh, he has that activated, what's my best response? Run away. Right?
Ignore him for 7 seconds. Yeah.
So Stone Skin does something similar in that it provides that crowd control reduction after the initial removal for 6 seconds, and it gives you some damage reduction as well, so that you don't get blown up. Gives you that latitude to stay in that fight and put out sustained damage. But we did it in a way such that the enemies are still able to interact with you. They are still able to CC you. It's just less effective. It doesn't last for as long, and it enables you to kind of have that back and forth a little bit still.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned a couple, but what are the main heroes that should be looking to purchase this item?
Any hero that needs time. So that could be a ranged hero like Vermilion, but it could also be a melee hero like Hale. I think this item is an excellent choice on Hale because it's a hero that needs to go in there after you do your combo and use it in whatever order you'd like. You want to start putting out auto attacks because he does so much damage, right? And sometimes you're going to be running into a lot of crowd control as they're going to be trying to peel you off of their targets and all that kind of stuff. So Stone Skin will allow you to stay out of CC, allow you to take some additional damage, and really be in the mix for pretty unrestrained for 6 seconds.
Okay. So, you know, we mentioned the heroes that you should get on. Are there any heroes in particular where, you know, if this hero is in the game, you should definitely look into getting this item? Like, you know, Malady has her Q stun that can be very annoying, or Ray's electric fence can be very difficult to deal with. Are those 2 heroes that you would suggest that you, as a Hale or as a Rook or as a Vermilion, you would pick up that item in those situations?
Yeah, definitely. I think specific stun-heavy heroes or CC-heavy heroes this is great against. But moreover, if you see multiples of them on the other team, this is great because the persistent effect of 6 seconds is a long time. It's going to make you relatively CC resistant for a pretty sustained amount of time. That makes it so that after the Malady stuns you, maybe the Ray tries to follow up or the Bow tries to follow up, and it makes you more resistant against all of those. So stacked on to the top of the damage reduction, you might not get blown up as fast either. So anytime you think that you're going to be the focus of a lot of crowd control and damage, Stone Skin's an excellent choice for you.
Okay, so let's talk about how you want to build it and how you want to craft it. So as I mentioned before, the 2 build-up items for this are the medium tier power and the medium tier health. So let's just give you an example. Let's say that you are playing as Vermilion or Rook, so a ranged damage dealer, and you are against multiple people with CC, so you want to pick up this item. Which 2 items do you put in to craft it, and which rare effect are you looking for when you craft it?
So the reason the default components for Stone Skin are 1 health and 1 power of relatively equal magnitudes is because this item really could go either way. And so with a hero like Vermilion or Rook, you're generally really squishy, your base pool is really low, so you might actually want to craft both of the components to health, because as a percentage increase over your natural health pool, that's actually higher than for a melee hero. That being said, for a melee hero like Bow, maybe you want a Stone Skin and you find that you don't have much power in your build leading up to that point, so you actually want to craft it all power. But then again, you might want to compound it with even more health. So really, this item is really versatile. You probably want it to go one way or the other as far as offensive or defensive output. But depending on what you need in the rest of your build to round it off, I would craft it to complement that. But the base build is already pretty versatile. In terms of the rare output, the rare effect, I would aim for something defensive. So something like more magic armor, or resistance tag, or more armor to allow you to survive more, because this is really an item that you're purchasing for that survivability peak.
Right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the legendary effect. What is the legendary effect? What are the bonuses to it, and how impactful is it to the game?
What the legendary effect for Stone Skin does is it reduces the cooldown by a really significant amount. If you have a perfect Stone Skin, at this point in time, it goes down to a 9-second cooldown reduction. And what that does is shift the item slightly toward the direction of maybe you can use it more than twice in a single fight. Right. And that's pretty awesome. Because the item lasts for 6 seconds, every point of cooldown that you take off, you're increasing the percentage uptime of the item. So that means that it's available for a hefty chunk of the cooldown. So it's available for 6 seconds, the cooldown starts ticking immediately. So that cooldown reduction is really significant, to the point of you maybe use it at the start of the fight for the CC resistance and for the cooldown, for the damage resistance, and you're able to wear that off, and Strife fights persist for a while. Maybe later in the fight, it's back up again, and you're able to cleanse off of CC with it. So it could be really impactful.
Awesome. All right. Well, there you guys go. This is Stone Skin. It's a great item for your ranged DPS carries as well as your melee carries, and any hero that really has damage that's dealt over a long period of time. So if you have a bursty type character, this might not be the item for you, but if you're looking to maybe deal out damage over a period of time, you should try to pick it up, especially if you're finding yourself dying a lot. So, that is the Vault. That is Stone Skin. Thank you, Diva. And it was a pleasure being with you guys, and we will see you next week.
Hey guys, welcome back to Strife Weekly. I'm Cell, and I'm here with your community breakdown. Now, we've been doing a lot of cool stuff with Strife Daily and Strife Weekly with kind of helping you guys out learn the heroes and maybe teaching you one way to play the heroes, but it's not the only way to play any of these heroes. So, you know, some people have been going through Reddit and the forums, letting everybody know how they play the heroes, and we have actually a fan site that sprung up, froststrife.com, who has some hero guides that you guys can end up hopping into, creating your own hero guides and sharing them with friends. You can share them on Facebook, Reddit, the forums, anywhere. So head over there to froststrife.com and check it out. With the new wave of invites, we've actually got, you know, a lot of new streamers that are popping up. So you guys should be heading over to Twitch TV, check out some of these new streamers. They might even have some keys for you. So hop on in there, check them out, follow, and see what they're all about. We've also been having a lot of fan art pop up, which is great. We had an MS Paint thread that was on Reddit that was awesome. And we've had a couple of other fan arts popping up. Andrew Smith actually made a really cool 3D model of an ace bust. You can actually check it out at the link below, and he's done a video of it as well, so you can see it being created from the ground up, which is really cool. So what we're going to be doing is, based on the MS Paint thread that we had and a lot of the fan art we received, we're going to have an art contest, and it's already started this week, but it's going to be running up until Wednesday of next week. So head on over to Reddit. You'll find the contest information there, or you'll find it in the newsletter, and check it out. You can enter for your chance to win a beta key, not only for yourself, but for 4 of your friends, so you can bring your whole team with you. So as always, guys, this weekend there's going to be a Strife HQ tournament. You guys should hop in and check that out. It's going to be casted by Wings LTD, a community caster, and he's doing an awesome job. He's got a great sound, and you guys should check him out. He's really witty, and he's always on the spot with his commentary, so it's great to see. But thanks for watching, guys. That's been it for Community Corner. Don't forget to check out Reddit, Facebook, and also the newsletter for any chances to win any beta keys if you haven't gotten into the beta yet. And just stay tuned to those sites for some news if you're in the beta already. Thanks for watching, guys. Game on.